Morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunday, October 13th, 2024. Glad you could join me so early on a Sunday morning. Hope you're all getting up to go to your choice of worship service this morning, whether that be church or synagogue or temple, wherever. I'm trying to go to church again. I've missed the last couple of Sundays because I've just been so busy, but that's no excuse. So we're going to be talking about a couple of things this morning. When we come back, did you know the House is on break again, another vacation? When we come back, what that means.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please ring that bell. Tell us you like the station. Tell us you like the show. It's so important for a small station that wants to get a bit bigger, as this station does. And we appreciate your support so much. You don't have to give us any money. It's appreciated if you do, but we're not even asking for that. Just let us beat the YouTube censorship and the YouTube suppression so we can continue to fight Trudeau's censorship, which is everywhere. Everywhere. Now, before I get on, I want to show you a quick little, shall I say, advertisement, but it's for me. Nobody advertises on this channel yet. Maybe in another 3 months, we'll see. But I don't want this ever to be about one ad after another. But this is a little reminder about our store and the things that you can find. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, folks. Don't listen to Justin Trudeau. We need this kind of attitude in Canada right now because let me tell you, Justin Trudeau will fight tooth and nail to stay as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada, and he will use every trick in the Liberal handbook to do that. So we have to be vigilant, and we have to have perseverance to fight this battle to the end. As I've been saying since this station went on the air, we need to resolve to resist. And we need to fight for our free speech and our democratic rights to say what we believe, to speak, as John Diefenbaker said. And don't forget that T-shirt that's available out there in the store. I speak as a free Canadian, free to speak, free to believe in what I choose. And Justin Trudeau is not going to interfere with that. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country.
So that's our little ad for the store. Hope you enjoyed that. So let's get on to the business. Did you know the House isn't sitting this week? Took me by surprise because they're always taking unscheduled breaks now. Well, they're scheduled, but they used to take a break in November for Remembrance Day. Now they're taking another break in October? Oh, okay, for Thanksgiving, another week. Yeah, I know it gets a little voluminous after a while. But what makes this interesting is that there's a coup mounting against Justin Trudeau in his own party. The knives are out in the Liberal caucus. We talked about this yesterday, but once again, it's becoming more and more widespread amongst your mainstream media folks who don't like to talk about this sort of thing. But this is interesting.
Platform in 2015 said.
Oh, sorry. That's
Mr. Justin Trudeau is facing mounting pressure from his caucus to step down from the leadership of the Liberal Party. A group of backbench MPs reportedly in discussions over a formal ask. Here's CTV's Colton Prale.
Back from a whirlwind trip to Laos, the Prime Minister is returning to a political firestorm. A group of backbench Liberal MPs are in discussions that could see dozens formally ask Justin Trudeau to decide on his future as Liberal leader.
Parliament is a mess. The NDP have left the deal, and so now the MPs, I think, are even more inclined to say, look, where is our plan?
Pressure has been mounting for months. By-election losses, the resignation of the Liberals' national campaign director, and an MP publicly calling for Trudeau to resign have fueled the fire. But this comes after what sources described to CTV News as a secret caucus gathering away from the main meeting earlier this week, while Trudeau was out of the country.
more of the same isn't going to work. So either you go or something changes.
Some Liberals are standing by him.
I'm disappointed because Canadians expect us to be focusing on Canadians and doing this work. And I know my colleagues. I know that that is top of mind.
Already this week, the Conservatives are targeting other high-profile Liberals like Melanie Joly.
She continues to pander to Hamas supporters in the Liberal Party as part of her leadership campaign rather than doing her job.
The NDP says this is another example of a government not putting Canadians first.
It seems like the Liberals are focused on their own drama. They're caught up in their own drama. We're focused on people.
Actually, Jagmeet, you're focused on your leadership, on yourself. And I don't mean being a leader. I mean staying in charge of the NDP. That's your only goal right now. That's your only objective. And let me tell you this. This is why it's more likely we're going to have a non-confidence motion passed in the next 2 to 3 weeks before we're the end of October. We're about midpoint here. There's a week away. This is bad news for Justin Trudeau because people are plotting against him in his absence, and when the House isn't sitting, he can't control these people. They're back in their ridings. They're talking to each other. They're communicating. They're probably meeting privately. So this is what's going on. And Jagmeet Singh is looking at the polls. And I've got Nick Nanos on in a minute here. No, he's not coming on my show Sunday morning, but I've got a clip of Nick Nanos talking about what I've been saying all week, is that the NDP are on the verge of becoming the official opposition in the next government. Now, Jagmeet Singh talks about becoming the next prime minister. He knows that's BS. He knows that's nonsense. He hasn't got a hope in hell of becoming the next prime minister or his party forming the next government. That's obvious to anybody with half a brain. And even Jagmeet Singh knows that and privately would tell you that. His hope is to become the official opposition, just like Jack Layton did under Stephen Harper. Now, that is the goal here. Right now, there are polls suggesting he's tied with the Liberals and is moving ahead. That his seeming resistance to Justin Trudeau is paying some political dividends to him. That's entirely possible, that the NDP vote is coming back at the expense of the Liberals. Now, the Conservatives have taken a chunk of that NDP vote and they ain't giving it back because these are people who are traditional Labour supporters who don't think the NDP has any interest in actually ordinary working people. The NDP is too focused on woke ideology, on crazy issues that have no pertinence or relevance to working class Canadians. So those people are not going back to the NDP. They're staying in the Conservative camp. Jagmeet Singh wants to take a fragmenting part of the Liberal Party into the NDP and become the official opposition with it. That's his plan. And I think what Nick Nanos is saying here confirms what I've been saying for the last week about what's going on. This is why you're not going to see, I don't believe, Trudeau prorogue the Parliament in time. Now, he might come back after this week and say, it's over, we're proroguing, because he's reading the tea leaves and saying, I don't think I have it. But I don't think, and I'll tell you afterwards why I don't think Justin Trudeau is going to prorogue. And anyone who's out there saying, oh, he's going to prorogue, I know, they don't know anything. Because I've worked on the Hill for many years. I worked on the Hill for many years. And I tell you, these decisions are made over lunchtime. When a prime minister feels his back against the wall and he's got to do it. And if you talk to some senator who said, oh, yeah, Trudeau's going to prorogue, don't bank on it. Don't bank on that because they don't know. Let's listen to Nick now. This is quite interesting here.
Let's go back to our top story now. Questions about the Prime Minister's leadership from within his own party. A group of backbench MPs is in discussions to formally ask Justin Trudeau to resign. Joining me now is Nick Nanos, founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research. Nick, thanks as always for joining us.
Good to see you, Roger.
All right, with all these things unfolding, the machinations of Ottawa coming to light right now, let's take a look at the ballot support. Long term, Poilievre still got a big lead over Trudeau and Singh.
Yeah, still a significant advantage for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. But, the real story here is the Liberals and the New Democrats still within the margin of error it's terrible news for the Liberals and for Justin Trudeau to be basically statistically tied with the New Democrats. The Conservatives still firmly in the driver's seat with about an 18-point advantage. But the thing is, if you're a Liberal, you're looking at this. This is kind of like, I don't want to use doomsday, but I guess I just use doomsday scenario, Roger. Like, you're probably, if you're a Liberal, you're probably clutching your chest. And if you're a Conservative, you're fist pumping with numbers like this. And if you're the New Democrats, you're like, okay, so we're tied with the Liberals for Jagmeet Singh to try to jumpstart, to try to pull ahead in the same way that Jack Layton and Tom Mulcair had the advantage over the Liberals. It speaks to the pressure, significant pressure that is under Justin Trudeau. And why don't we just say he's in a pressure cooker? If he decides to stay, he's in a pressure cooker. And right now, it's not a big surprise that, there are individuals within his own party, more and more individuals that are openly wondering about his leadership and the value that it brings to the table.
I'm going to go back to that interview in a minute, but here's my point about this, is that Justin Trudeau won't prorogue Parliament for one basic reason: his unalloyed narcissism, his egocentric mind and personality, because he honestly believes he can beat this Poilievre guy, this upstart Poilievre. That's how he sees him, as a career politician. And of course, Trudeau doesn't think about the fact that he's been a career politician, and besides that, what? A drama teacher? He has no life experience, but he accuses Poilievre, of course, he projects on Poilievre all of his own limitations. And that is why Justin Trudeau wants to run again. There's so many Greek tragedies or Shakespearean tragedies about the effect of hubris or pride on destiny, on a man's destiny. And this is exactly what's working with Justin Trudeau right now. He believes he can win again because he believes he's that good. And he believes Canadians love him that much. To hell with the polls, he says. These don't really matter. I am loved by Canadians. I can beat this Poilievre. And Singh, he'll be forgotten after a couple of days on the campaign trail. I'm that good a campaigner. Now, that's why I believe, one, he's not going to come back and prorogue, because not only does he think he can win the next election, and he's not going to wait till spring to have a non-confidence vote, he believes that he doesn't want a lot of legislation to die. And so he's betting on the fact that Parliament will have enough life to pass this legislation. He doesn't want to start at zero again. But things are moving so quickly in the House of Commons right now. He's losing so much support that I think he's lost his grip. He's lost control over how quickly things are going to happen. So we could have a non-confidence vote in a couple of weeks, and that will totally upend Trudeau, who is expecting, of course, that he's going to override these things, and he's going to get this legislation through before the next election. I don't think one way or the other we're going to get this legislation. I think we're going to be headed to an election in mid to late November. It's been my prediction for a while. I might be completely wrong, but that's how I see it right now. And I don't think Trudeau is going to come back in a week and say we're proroguing, because he really does love the campaign. He's like Barack Obama. Barack Obama never stopped campaigning. He was constantly campaigning, even as president, 2 or 3 years after winning the first election or being reelected. He was still campaigning. He never wanted to govern. And that's the irony of Justin Trudeau. He's always telling you, I'm above politics. That's his line now. I am not about politics, he says. I am about working for Canadians, and I'm rolling up my sleeves to work for Canadians. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to govern, not to have elections. I'm not here about politics. So that's his rhyme now. And he'll continue to recite this mantra until you're sick to death of it, but he thinks it reassures you. Let's watch the rest of this interview, because it's really interesting, because they're trying to make a point here, very, very low-key point, that Pierre Poilievre is going to be the next Keir Starmer. This is the authoritarian SOB in the UK who was putting everybody in jail if they disagree with him, and who is an atrocity as a Democratic leader. But let's listen.
Long term, this has been a kind of consistent thing we're seeing here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically for more than a year. The thing is for Justin Trudeau, the one positive thing that he does have is that he likes to campaign and he's a good campaigner. And I think if he decides that he wants to stay, he's probably holding his hat on a one-on-one fight, hopefully from his perspective, between him and Pierre Poilievre, and that Justin Trudeau somehow can make the Liberals a little more competitive. But time for a change is really a hard force to overcome.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the UK. You did a poll regarding the love or dislove, the non-love of the Prime Minister there.
Maybe we can have a whole segment on different ways to say disapproval. Dislove, non-love. I don't know. Anyways, I'd just like to say, Roger, you sound like a bit like a hippie pollster.
Yeah.
When you use stuff like that. But disapproval rating, you can see for the Labour leader. And you know what? He rode a massive wave of change against Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives. And, what we're seeing is that, his disapproval rating has basically gone through the roof. 2 out of every 3 voters in the United Kingdom disapprove of him right now. And, the thing is his disapproval was, before when he won the election, the approval numbers were good. And in a short period of time, people have turned against the government and against Prime Minister Starmer right now. So maybe an interesting thing to observe, a party that rode a wave of popularity and change into power, not very long afterwards, having to deliver some tough medicine in the United Kingdom.
So unfortunately, Nick, I know what you're trying to say here. I know what you're trying to suggest, that Pierre Poilievre is waving a wave of popularity to becoming the next prime minister, and he's going to suffer incredible recriminations immediately from the public. But Pierre Poilievre has no plans to put people in jail for free speech, and that's exactly what Herr Starmer is doing in Great Britain. So really a non-argument. Let's have a little bit of fun here towards the end. I want to reiterate here where I'm going with this. I think there's good news for all of us with free speech, because I think because Trudeau is off the rails, because he's no longer controlling the government agenda. I mean, the government's not even introducing business, as we discussed all week, because of the Green Slush Fund stalling everything until these unredacted documents can get to the RCMP. There's no government business going on. It's chaos in the House. I don't think Trudeau is going to prorogue, but I don't think he's going to control the agenda so he can get his legislation passed either. I think the good news is we're going to have an early election, and that legislation is going to die. The Online Harms Act, Bill C-63, this odious piece of legislation that's going to take away my free speech and yours, is going to die on the order paper. It's not going to get passed. Well, that's technically not the order paper, but it's not going to get past first reading. And that is great news. And there's a lot of other bills, including, this C-293, which is a bill to ban meat products during a pandemic. This is insanity. That is on the verge of getting passed in the Senate. That will end as well. So will Charlie Angus's, NDP MP Charlie Angus's insane bill to criminalize any speech that promotes fossil fuels. That is nuts. That will die too. So this is good news for free speech. Let's look at some of the good news south of the border right now. And this is funny stuff, because Kamala Harris has got to be the worst candidate the Democrats have ever chosen. And there's quite a field there in the last 20 years. There's quite a field of candidates that they feel that have been totally inadequate. Kamala Harris is so embarrassing, is so ill-equipped, is so inadequate that every time she opens her mouth in an unscripted moment, it's horrendous. Even when it's scripted, my friends, it's bad. But let's watch this segment, because there's an ad here I saw on the weekend, which is just so incredibly bad. It's like every time the Harris campaign puts out an ad, it's like a parody ad of the Harris campaign putting out an ad. That's how it is.
Speaking of teleprompters, Vice President and would-be future Madam President Kamala Harris found herself speaking without a teleprompter this week. Let's see what sort of off-the-cuff words and wisdom she had to offer, shall we?
So when we think about what's at stake in this election, whoa, it's packed with some stuff.
Wow.
It's packed with some fundamental stuff. I say rather articulately.
Isn't that incredible?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's packed with some stuff, all right. Whew. Anyway, despite these sorts of near-daily performances from Harris, the race between Donald Trump and Kamala is effectively tied.
And it's interesting, too, Barack Obama, I think it was on Friday, he was out saying that black men need to vote for Kamala Harris. Obviously, they're not, because the internal polls I'm seeing show that Kamala Harris is falling behind in all of the demographics that she desperately needs to win. If she's going to win, she needs these demographics, and she's losing massive support there. And her own internal polling is showing that.
But there are some serious warning bells that key demographic groups without whom Harris cannot win the election, are abandoning her in droves. Like, for example, male voters who are worried about the economy and their jobs and, for the most part, don't know what a brat summer is and don't respond to the Democrats' scare campaign on abortion, which is about all the Democrats have left these days. So, to win them back, the Democrats, or rather a grassroots group of Democrats supporting ad executives and media types, calling themselves creatives for Harris,
amazing.
Well, they made an ad that, well, to say is as precisely as patronizing and out of touch as you would expect an ad made by a bunch of lefty ad execs and media types made by quote-unquote real men might be. Let's have a look, shall we?
I'm a man.
I'm a man. I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough. I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Meat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
And I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women. I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies? Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
Man enough to run.
What the hell is he even talking about? Banning Little Women? When has that happened in the last 100 years? This is insanity, these people. And of course, these are all actors. These aren't real people. These are actors trying to look like real men. And this is how the Democratic Party sees men today.
Raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
In front of his horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually. Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story. That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful. That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so
right there, the crisis in masculinity in a nutshell.
Yeah, right there.
The end
Of the election, Donald Trump's won in a landslide.
I tell you what, guys,
so
this was like, this ad, those 90 seconds were like one of those awful white dudes for Harris Zoom calls come to life. Look, every single thing about... Everything about this ad was wrong. From the guy who was talking about eating carburetors for breakfast, and by the way, a car has not been sold in the U.S. with a carburetor since 1994, to the entire premise that men are afraid to vote for a woman. That is nonsense. Look, let me clue any Democrats watching what this is all about. Guys are not afraid to vote for a woman. They just don't want to vote for an airhead.
That's the issue. We don't want to vote for an airhead. And by the way, the guy who says he eats carburetors for breakfast, it looks like he eats a hell of a lot for breakfast. And this is just, it's a parody ad. They don't even know how stupid it is. I want to have a look at your comments today while we have a chance here. You know, and put my glasses on, sure, because it's Sunday and I just want to have a look. Let's go. Carl Stenbeck. The WEF has penetrated the cabinet of at least a dozen Western countries, including USA. Biden spoke at Davos in 2016 when no one was looking. Yeah. Heels up Harris. Donnie, unpack vacuous. Exactly. And this is the stuff about Brad Griffiths. She is an airhead, of course, referring to Kamala Harris. Rico Schwab. It's about wealth transfer, nothing else. Very true. Well, interesting. Thank you, Rob Dieter, if I've got your name right. Good morning, David, from Stettler, Alberta. Man, YouTube sure hates you, eh? I never get a notification when you're live. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Rob. Yeah, I'm not surprised because they won't tell you I'm live. And when I am live, they do everything to suppress what I'm doing. So, Kathy Ray, I feel Kamala Harris is intentionally looking bad, so you vote for Trump because she doesn't like the future plans Democrats have. That mirrors what is happening in the U.S. Well, interesting comment, Kathy. I don't know what you base that one on, but we believe in free speech here. Old Smoky, Kamala Harris couldn't run a two-car funeral down a one-way street. Yeah, that's good. That is so true. Oh, I love this. Mark Works. I'm not afraid to express my feelings to my horse. That was wonderful. I'm going to have a look at some of the earlier runs here. Dan Boulay. Trudeau loves the spotlight. When he loses, he will become a nobody again. You bet. Canada House. Trudeau is the foreign interference we speak about. Nobody's home. One last party for Trudeau. Joe Mayer. Trudeau and Freeland are only following the WEF agenda. Well, that's very true. Wow, thank you, Coco Donnie, for the $5 gift. Trudeau could run a lemonade stand. He's got enough space between his and a few other cabinet members' ears to solve the homelessness crisis. Yeah. Annie, sad thing is that Gen Z has no clue that government works for the people and not the other way around. Yeah. Carl Stenbeck again. Trudeau is in too deep with the globalists to back out now anyway. Harry Taint, he gave our country and money to foreign invaders, obviously talking with Trudeau. Tommy Gunn, remember Pierre Poilievre denounced Christine Anderson of Germany as a right-wing extremist. I haven't forgotten that, Tommy. I mention it all the time. Well, not all the time. I have mentioned it many times. And I'm still trying to get an interview, by the way, with Christine Anderson. I met her about a year ago at an event here in Ottawa where I was speaking and she spoke also. And we were supposed to have a call in very soon after that, but that never transpired. But I'm still trying to get an interview with Christine Anderson. I don't care if Pierre Poilievre objects to that or not. Rico Swab, Starmer and Trudeau are working for the same bosses. You bet. You bet. Okay. I'd like to make this more of a regular thing, at least once a week. Thank you for watching today. And have a great Sunday. It's Thanksgiving. A happy Thanksgiving if you're celebrating it today. God bless you. If you're celebrating it tomorrow, as I probably will be, God bless you too. And have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your time with your family. Spend some leisure time. If you're not working, I'm working today for the post-millennial, so I'm not going to have a lot of time. I'm off to the gym shortly. It's about the only time I can go. But I really appreciate your watching today and just in your comments. I do read them. And they're very encouraging. And I thank you so much. And I better get off the air before I just go on ad nauseum. We'll be back again tomorrow, and I will be on every day this week, even though the House of Commons was not sitting. That doesn't stop the news from happening. So, and we will continue to give you all the news you need so you can continue to resolve to resist.